Good morning, Teach Better family. It is Tuesday, December 7th, somehow already in 2021. I'm Jeff. I am not Ray. I am Jeff standing in for Ray, and I have Liza Thomas here with me. A newer face to our community, so this is me fun. We'll get to know Liza and everything she's got going on. We're going to touch in today's theme, talking through some tech and ideas, and Liza's got a unique way that she's using Google, so we're going to dive into that. We've got some holidays to talk about. We've got some good news story. We're going to have a good time today. So do me a favor, if you're watching with us live, drop in the comments, say hello. If you're listening on the podcast later, obviously you can't drop in comments, but tweet at us. Let us know what's going on. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, and we'll be back in about 27 seconds. All right. Good morning. Welcome to Daily Drop, where we're live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And every time I say that now, I wonder if I'm saying it the right order, and Ray's going to yell at me. So you would think I'd go back and double check, but I don't. I just make it up every morning. So it is awesome to be here with you. I see some people dropping in the comments, so great to see you. Please drop in, say hello. Green hearts are always welcome as well. Liza, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am fantastic.
It is an hour earlier where you are in Illinois than it is here, and it's early here.
Yeah. So I got up a little earlier for you guys today. But
how long have you been up right now?
An hour.
You've been up for an hour. Okay. So I don't know why, but on Mondays, I'm always live with Ray on Daily Dropping on Mondays, and then I have occasional days here or there. But I always get up 2 hours early. I don't know So I was about 5 a.m. this morning, and I don't do much. I just kind of really take my time waking up for some reason.
Self-centered.
Yeah, I think I sip my coffee. I look at what's going on. I triple, quadruple, whatever 5 times is. Check the flow of what I'm supposed to do on a day like today, which is not my normal day, which is Monday. So anyway, thank you for being up early. Coming to us from Illinois there.
I'm excited.
You're fairly new to our family here, our community here. And so that's exciting.
Yeah.
So sort of your first introduction here. So with that said, how about an introduction? Can you share who you are, what you do, and a little bit about yourself here?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be on this new kind of platform, especially in the new role that I'm in as a grant coordinator. But I'm a 28-year veteran educator. I've been a special education teacher my entire career and then an administrator. So I kind of moved up into lead teaching and then supervising special education programming, and then eventually went into administration. So I've also had the opportunity to teach in 4 different states and lots of different school settings, lots of classroom settings, from therapeutic day treatment centers to just regular classrooms, co-teaching, lots of co-teaching. And in the administrative role, I always supervise the special education programs as well. So that's kind of my background. The last job I was in was as a director of an alternative school. In Illinois, we have regional safe schools for students that have been expelled. And so I was the director of our local regional safe school for 2 years. It was during COVID. So that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the population, there weren't a lot of referrals because students weren't in school to get expelled. And so the funding kind of got cut, and my supervisor works in a regional office that was a part of writing this grant application. And this is the new federal grant from the Office of Special Education Programming in DC. It's called SPDIG, State Personnel Development Grant. MTSS was the one prior to this. So that was a big grant for years. And we're the new SPDIG. And so this job opportunity came along kind of during COVID. And It's a totally different role. I've never been in the grant world, and so it's been a huge learning curve, but really exciting. And our grants, Illinois Elevating Special Educators, and we're all about providing professional development, mentoring, coaching, and parent education across the state of Illinois. So this new role is really eye-opening because I'm seeing education from a completely different perspective. I've always been, on the front lines, and this is my first time to be able to kind of sit back and look at an entire state. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I wanna ask more about your actual role and what that means. But
Sure.
I'm curious. You said 4 states. What are the 4 states?
Illinois, Iowa, Virginia, and I guess I said 4. It's really 3, but I went back to Illinois. So
You've been
5
there
school
twice.
districts.
So, okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So you had Illinois, Iowa, and then like over to Virginia and back. So, all right.
I had some family out there, and taught south of DC for 5 years.
All right, I'm going to make you tell us of the 3, which is the best, your favorite.
Well, I will say that I learned the most in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Okay.
That was where my professional philosophy really bloomed.
Gotcha. How long were you there?
Just for education. 5 years.
5 years there. Okay.
It's so huge there. I mean, there's over like 15,000 instructors in that district, and so
Virginia, the county level districts, right?
Yeah. And then the counties are broken up into areas, and but I had the opportunity to develop from the ground up an ED program in a public school, emotional disabilities, and I had my own psychologist and my own social worker for the program, and so it was like a dream. And we developed that, and we were really successful, and it was great. But then as an administrator, I had 4 amazing years at an elementary school here in Champaign, Illinois, where I really grew my instructional leadership. And I learned more about curriculum at the tier 1 level. And then I was able to support special educators in being a part of that. And so those 2 experiences were really probably developed my leadership skills the most.
I love that reflection on how they each kind of built into each other to help you to be better at all the different things. So and so now you're the grant coordinator. What does that mean? Like, what do you do? What's what does that mean?
That's a great question. I think
I don't know.
Trying to figure that out. So we have 5 area teams across the state of Illinois. We have 5 program advisors: Northwest Illinois, Northeast, West Central, East Central, and Southern Illinois.
Okay.
And so the purpose of that is so that our grant work can be as far-reaching as possible.
Sure.
And so I coordinate those 5 amazing teams. I'm so lucky to have found the people that I did, because they are all so excited about this work. They're all really dedicated to special education and, kind of bridging that gap between students with disabilities and students without disabilities and their outcomes. And so my job is to coordinate all of the work that's being done in every area of the state. So we meet, it's a lot of Zoom meetings.
I bet, yeah. And so is that work like putting on workshops and events? Is it in the schools doing consulting? I mean, I know there's coaching, what does that
all
look
of
like?
those things.
It's all those things.
Yeah. Okay. So we have professional development, which can look so many different ways. We have an amazing website, by the way.
You do have a great website.
Yeah.
Like, a ton of information, looks beautiful.
I'll give my shout out to my admin assistant, Maggie. She rocks. She developed the website.
Well, and it's fairly new, right? Because the grant came in, so the whole thing's new.
Yeah, we just really have been together as a team since July 1.
It's like when you say it's your first year, it's like everybody's first year. You've all done different jobs, but it's crazy. Yeah, and it looks great.
And we've done so many things already with professional development. Lots of mentoring is happening this year. And so we're really, really proud of the groups of teachers that we've gotten together for mentoring. So that's a big, big part.
Is most of the work with special education teachers, or is it a mix of special education teachers and maybe the teachers that only occasionally touch kids with those needs, or who are you typically working with?
So we looked at state data of students with special needs, and we identified districts across the state where their outcomes for students with disabilities were not very good. And so, and then because of where each team is based, we just reached out to local administration. We reached out to regional offices and districts and just told them who we are and that we were getting started. So we had some districts request our help immediately. Other districts, we kind of made the initial contact.
Sure.
And so we've done some coaching in the classrooms. I did an observation the other day at a middle school ED classroom. But my team has put on trainings that are regional office wide. So lots of counties, lots of districts that attended, 100 people. And then we've also just done school-based professional development for different schools that have different needs in the area of special education. We're also really, like I said before, helping to bridge that gap at the tier 1 level so that students with disabilities have better access to that tier 1 instruction that takes place in the gen ed classroom. So we're working with everybody.
So you do work with, are you partnered with an ROE, or I know in Illinois you have ROEs, Regional Offices of Education.
Yep.
In Ohio we have ESCs, which are very similar. And others, they're different in every state, I think. So are you partnered with one specifically, or do you partner with all of them? Like, how does that set up? I'm curious about all this. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's great questions. We have 5 subgrants with 5 ROEs across the state. So that's where we've.
Okay, explain it. Can you break down before you go? This was created from a grant. What's a subgrant?
A subgrant is where. So there were 5 regional offices that had staff that were a part of writing this application for the grant.
The big grant. Okay, gotcha.
From the federal government. And they were the 5 regional offices that really wanted to launch this work. And so they agreed to partner with us as a team, and that's where we hired our program advisors out of.
That's where you got your teams. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and so we do have 5 ROEs. The ultimate goal is to have more ROEs launch this work at the local level.
Yeah. So the ROEs, that's because they know the local landscape of all the different districts and the people and stuff, which is allowing you to stretch it. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was the process of getting to where we are now has been unbelievably eye-opening. It's just been a huge learning curve.
Huge. I bet. What's been the biggest? I mean, this is the last 18, 24, whatever months for education has been so crazy, so difficult. This year has been just brutal.
It has.
This is a new team. You're doing new work. You're trying to expand work. It's important work, but it's not easy work.
No.
And in a year where shortages are everywhere, the challenges are abundant. What's been the biggest challenge for you and your team as far as trying to get this work up and running and or making it successful?
Yeah, the biggest challenge has been how we deliver professional development.
Like the logistics of it?
Yes, because everybody needs it. Like everyone we contacted and partnered with, districts all across the state want us. They want us to come and help their teachers get better at systems implementation for special education, instructional delivery, and they don't have subs to be able to have release time to attend professional development. We are mentoring actually several long-term subs. So they're not even teachers that were hired for those positions. It's just they're long-term subs and they need to know more. That's why the mentoring has really taken off, because we can do that after hours. And those are teachers that really need the help and want the help from us. And so the professional development delivery has been the biggest challenge by far.
So are you doing a lot? Are you doing a lot of that through Zoom?
We are.
virtual meeting and stuff? Yeah. Okay.
We have to.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
especially without being able to do subs, like it's so hard to
Mhm.
do a daytime training or anything
Mhm.
like that, or even
Mhm.
get everyone to a location, right? Because that
Yeah.
requires so much more than jumping onto a link. So
Yeah, we have done, we've had pockets of districts that we've been able to go to a bigger venue and have people join us, but the sub situation is so bad. It's hard to allow teachers to attend those. So that's where the mentoring has really come in. We've developed cohorts of teachers in different areas
okay,
across the state. We also have monthly remote mentoring sessions. They're kind of mini PD sessions and then followed by a discussion. And those
gotcha.
we invite everyone to. Anyone can join those. Those are every month. And we talk about hot topics in special ed.
And the website is
Network.
iesenetwork.org.
Yep.
And it's a great website. Like it's really well done. And
Yeah.
this comes from someone who that's a past life of mine was building
Oh,
websites. So
cool.
very user friendly, looks great on mobile, works really
Thank
well. Very important question.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your buddy behind you there?
Oh, is there?
I've seen a tail and a
Oh, yes, that's Tinker. Sorry.
Tinker's back there.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, look, just all cozied
Sorry.
up. Black Lab?
She's Lab Weimaraner mix.
Lab White. Oh, really?
Oh, there she's.
She knows we're talking about her.
Sorry.
Sorry, I saw the tail. I saw her sit down twice. I'm like, I'm gonna ask about the dog, or everyone's gonna be mad at me. Anyway,
she's not used to being up this early either.
She's like, "Why are you up right now? What is going on?
Yeah,
this is not correct."
Oh, there's my other one.
All right, so so the website is iesenetwork.org. So make sure you go over out, get involved. What's the easiest way for someone to get involved with things and to
go to that website and contact us? We all of our emails are on there. All of our staff emails are on there. You can see which staff works in which area of the state. Contact us.
You got another little one behind you.
Yeah, that's a Frenchie. Mm-hmm.
I love Frenchies.
They're confused. They're very confused right now.
Yeah, I'm a dog. We're dog people over here. So okay. I'm like, I've already heard mine with the zoomies upstairs. So
yeah.
I get it. All right. So we're going to jump into our theme for this week and talk a little bit about some tech stuff. We've got Liza here and we're going to get into that here in a minute. So stick around. I need to know if you clapped.
I didn't.
Like, I know I can see you, but I asked them, but I'm like, I can see whether you did or not. I didn't, but I always want to. I'm always like,
it is very catchy.
It's catchy, It's one of those little things. So the thing this week here, well, I should probably welcome us back to Daily Drop-In. If you're just tuning in, we're live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I'm changing it each time because Ray's gonna drive her nuts. She says it very specifically, and I say it different every single time. The order of like what I say. I say with Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm gonna start saying Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. It's hard to say. Yeah. It's an inside thing. Just ignore me. Okay. So the theme for this week is tech you should try today, and we talking about whether it's a new tech idea, a new way to use tech, something just a tech piece that you enjoy. And like yesterday, Ray and I got into Calendly and how we love that and things of that nature, which we use obviously on our team and schedule and stuff, but also Ray using a classroom for scheduling check-ins with students, stuff like that. Yeah. What you mentioned before we come on that you're using Google in a unique way. We didn't get into it, so this is going to be new for me too. So can you share how are you what aspect of Google and how are you using it? Let's get into this thing.
I'll do the best that I can. As I said at the beginning,
that's all I asked for. As you can see, what my best is, Liza. This morning, so.
I'm a 28-year veteran, so the technology piece at times can be a little challenging for me. But my admin assistant Maggie is a great teacher. She's a lot younger than me.
Can I stop you there? I'm curious. 28-year veteran, so you were cruising by the time ed tech really became a thing we're supposed to be using, right? Did you fight it? Or did you?
No.
Because some really fought it. Some just struggle to understand. Those two differently. Did you fight it? Was it a struggle for you? Did you jump on it pretty quickly? Like how?
No, I was pretty excited about it actually, because anything that's going to make life easier for teachers, I'm all about that. And once I sat down with some of my colleagues and they showed me how much easier things are when you use
You can
technology.
automate things and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
pretty passionate about it actually. So I'm always open to learning
Good.
for
It's good.
sure.
Good
That's
to know.
like
That's cool.
my thing. So yeah, no, I did not fight it.
All right. So Google. Sorry,
Yeah, that's right.
I'm always curious when I hear someone who's been doing it for a while, like because it can be
Yeah.
tough too. It can be tough to learn.
Yes.
It can be intimidating. It can be overwhelming. And you're like, look,
Yeah.
I'm just cruising. I'm good. Like I don't need to be. So
Yeah.
all right. So tell me about Google and how you're innovating the way we use Google.
Okay, so this is all new for me because I never realized that Google had the capabilities that we have now started using it for. So I've always used it in the classroom, especially during COVID, right? Everybody got very well versed in Google Classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So we use Google Classroom for our team to share information on professional development ideas so that all of our team members have access to, because we could potentially provide hundreds of professional development topics.
Sure.
And so one of the things that is really important in the grant world is data tracking and
Absolutely.
data reporting and making sure it's accurate. And so as we've kind of, we always say we're building this plane as we're flying it. We, we get told what we have to collect, right? Then we figure out how we're going to collect it. And so we've been using Google Forms for all of the team members. We have a preset form for them to fill out every
Okay.
time they make contact with a district, a school, an ROE, every event that they are involved in. And so, I mean, we've had over 100 events so far, whether that's just an overview of the grant or a professional development complete training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So every time they fill that out, we get that information. But what I didn't know was that Google Forms has a whole like platform of reporting on data. So it provides us with these beautiful graphs that shows the work that we're doing. We can tell you what part of the state we were in, how many districts we reached, how many participants were involved, what part of the grant objectives the event was
Was
referring
meeting.
to.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's just been
So you're able to
eye-opening.
take that, boom, really quickly, easily, efficiently
Hmm.
get graphics and
Yeah.
breakdowns to put into your grant report and back to
Yeah.
yeah,
So as a special educator, data tracking and data reporting, that's just been a part of my
sure.
professional life the entire time, but never to this level,
So you
where we're reaching the whole state.
so can you take what you're doing now with that and how that's helping your team reflect back to when you were a special educator
Hmm.
in the trenches there,
Hmm.
how you would have used this
Oh
then?
my
Because I'm picturing in my
gosh.
head, like, especially when in special
Yes.
education, the data and the tracking and being
Hmm.
able to put the right questions in that form to have
Yes.
those graphs and know here's where
Hmm.
my kid's at, here's where we're
Hmm.
struggling, here's what we need to.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And I'm sure that I have, a ton more to learn about it, but just so we have a grant evaluator that works with us as well. And
Mhm.
she's the one that's responsible for reporting to the feds and the state about the
Okay.
work that we're
Mhm.
doing and making sure we're meeting those grant objectives, right? And so we reviewed this whole data collection process that we kind of stumbled upon. And now we have all of the information that we need at our fingertips through a Google form. And
And,
so it was, I mean, how simple.
and you said you're using Classroom then with your,
Mhm.
so you're assigning like to do assignments to your team members via Classroom, or how are
There,
you,
it's not assignments. We're just kind of, so
or
we
is it how
had
you bring
some,
everyone to one space to collaborate
yes,
on certain? Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
and
Yeah,
we had some foundational training that we needed to do as a team.
sure.
So we have some topics that our grant is really focused on ensuring that special educators across the state are aware of and improve their skills in.
Sure.
And so like UDL, Universal Design for Learning, that's an area that focuses on instructional delivery that provides access for all, right? And so we have a Google Classroom for UDL. We have a Google Classroom for high leverage practices, which is a set of standards for special educators to make sure that they're including all of these components of high leverage practices that are research based and have been proven to meet the needs of students with disabilities for years. So every time we had a topic that we needed to do some training with amongst ourselves with, we created a Google Classroom for that, so that we had a spot that we could go to and
so
really
it's
look
like
at it.
shared folder organized in the Google Classroom, so I can go in there and access that stuff. Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was a cool place to house training for ourselves, right? Like, and then we could talk to each other on it, because we're so spread out. That was another challenge of this job.
You're all over the state.
Yeah, how do you bring a team together to execute such important work, and you're all over the state? And so, we have gotten together.
I was gonna say, has everyone come together before? Okay.
And we have a blast when we all come together.
Yeah.
But it's so exciting, but I know as a leader how team cohesiveness is so important if the work is going to be authentic and delivered appropriately, and with fidelity, and so Google Classroom is one way that we've been able to come together.
That's super cool. What a way from a out of the classroom into an organizational standpoint,
right.
or if you think about that at a school level, like utilizing that for the staff and teachers, and I'm sure there's probably some schools that are doing that, but a really cool idea of just a familiar platform and space to organize things outside of just classroom for your students.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Started that too. I used Google Classroom for a staff platform at the regional safe school where I was director during COVID.
That's how you delivered all your info to your staff. Yeah,
and it was great because I could upload an idea or something that came across from educators were sharing so much information during COVID. I would something would come across, or even one of my teachers would hear about a technique or something that worked really well, and we could share it on that platform and then talk about it at staff meetings. So you could, because you can have a Zoom link or it's Google Meets.
Google Meets in there,
And so we would just get on the Google Classroom to meet with each other.
All right, which one's better, Google Meets or Zoom?
I mean, Google Meets is really convenient if everyone has Google.
And if you're working in classroom and in Google all the time, Google Meets. So interestingly enough, with that is we're a Google company. So like Google Drive, Docs, like everything's Gmail, all that, but we use Zoom. Now, part of that,
like Zoom
so part of that is like we really started using it. We used Meets before, and back when it was Hangout stuff. But when the pandemic came, prior to the pandemic, 95% of our work was in school districts. So that went away really quick, and we had to shift. And at the time, with the start of the pandemic, remember, Meets didn't have breakout rooms, didn't have a lot of the features yet.
Right.
Zoom did, and I think that's what we made the shift. And we're like, well, we're here, we've got it. And as Meets added stuff, we're like, well, that's cool, but we're already, and so we end up staying with Zoom. So that's what we're at.
We do too for most.
But then, as you were thinking through that, you're like, oh yeah, it just makes sense. I'm like, yeah, it does. I'm like, why don't we do that? But that's why. So interesting, awesome. Okay, let's talk about some good news. You want to get into some good news and some. We got some holidays today, some things to think through. We got more people dropping in. Some people actually waking up this morning. It's good to see everybody. I know Bree's here, Holly, Karen's here, Chad dropped in, Brad, Sandra. Good to see everybody. We're gonna be back. We're gonna talk. Get into some. Let's see. I got a cool good news that hopefully continues to be good news. And then we have a few different holidays today that we'll get into. One that's particular to you, actually.
Okay.
It's gonna be super exciting. I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not, but it's gonna be good. All right, we'll be back in a few. Welcome back to Daily DropIn. We're live Monday through Friday, every morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I think I got 3 different ways that I've said that today, right? Nobody keeping track? Someone's going to tell me and I'm going to be in trouble. Ray's at an event, so hopefully she's not going to pay attention. So I've got Liza here with me. Liza. I did this this morning. We talked about it beforehand.
We did talk about it.
Here, I'm going to story time for a second. Bashing on myself. When Ray and I were doing interviews, when the podcast was nothing but interviews, I would check names all the time because I was the one who like introduced the guest at the beginning. And if it was ever like a name where I knew someone that said it differently or whatever, when I would add similar this morning, I have a friend, Elizabeth, who goes by Liza, and I'm like, is it Lisa? And you're like, no, it's Liza. I'm like, I should have gone with Liza. And then immediately in my head, it's like, you're gonna mess it up.
Oh
and
no, so then
And then I'm like, so I had this like quick moment, it's like milliseconds where it's like, no, you remembered incorrectly. And then I just mixed the two up. So
that's all right.
Anyway.
When you're named Liza, it's just part of life.
We have Mrs. Thomas here, Thomas
here.
Sure. Anyway, Liza, it's awesome to have you here. I'm glad you're a good sport about dealing with Jeff. Today, first off, I want to hit with the very first one. Big holiday today. Important day is the day of remembrance around Pearl Harbor today, back in 1941. So remembering all the lives tragically lost, that was what entered us and dragged us into World War II, which led to a whole lot of more lost lives. So that's a day today. So if you have a moment, take the time, go read up on that, go get to know it. It's an important message and thoughts to share with your students and taking that in your classroom and your colleagues. So very important day there. The rest of the days aren't quite as emotional or meaningful in that sense. Other than we do have Flag Day of India, which is the day in India where they recognize the flags and the heroes that they've had there. For you specifically, today is National Illinois Day. Oh, did you know that?
I did not.
The note here on nationaltoday.com. Which lists it's really cool. You go there if you don't know nationaltoday.com. Every day they have here's all the holidays that are today. Okay. It's National Illinois Day. Their little note says, "Get your plans into gear as we celebrate one of the most remarkable U.S. states."
Well, that's one way to put it.
Now, with that being said, it's also World Trick Shot Day.
Oh,
like trick shots in basketball.
Hey, I have a couple of those up my sleeve.
If you had any doubt that Illinois was or was not remarkable, the fact that it shares this holiday, I think, certifies it as remarkable. National Cotton Candy Day.
Oh.
And it's also International Civil Aviation Day.
Wow.
To acknowledge the flight industry's influence on modern life. And lastly, it's National Letter Writing Day. So it's been a long time. It says, "Dear reader, it's been a long time since we wrote." But fortunately, today is National Letter Writing Day. Just a day of looking to write letters. So a lot of stuff you can share with your students and have fun with the cotton candy. I think remembering of Pearl Harbor can really be an incredible conversation starter with students. The National Letter Writing Day also, like, what a great opportunity to talk about how you can touch on a lot of things. You talk about how technology has changed the way in which we write and communicate. You can talk about how there's still some nostalgia and just some emotional attachment to receiving a letter and have an activity that works on my writing skills and my storytelling skills. Writing something home to parents or to friends.
That's one of the things as a leader that I learned from Peter Furch, one of my principals that I worked with for a long time. He always wrote thank you notes to his teachers throughout the year. He'd pick different ones, and I've continued that practice. Just sometimes a handwritten thank you note goes a long way. I think I've shared this on here before. So I in a past life I ran restaurants, and I have we used to do these little notes. They're called. I used to run Arby's restaurants. Red hot notes. Red hat service was like the Arby's saying for the customer service, right? And you write notes, just drop notes like you're awesome, like little simple things just to sound bright somewhat. One that I wrote to oddly enough Lisa, who worked with me, who was an incredible worker. She worked really hard, had a lot of struggle that comes from a rough home life, struggled a lot, like our work was like her escape, and she did amazing. And I wrote her this letter, little note.
and she was, super happy before we took it home. I ran into her 5 years probably after I had left Arby's, and randomly in the grocery store. I'm like, she doesn't work there anymore. She was doing bigger and better things, and she said, "I still have one of the notes you wrote me." I said, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Little red hat notes you said." I can't remember what it was that I wrote, but I said something very specific about what she had done. I said, "You still have that?" She goes, "Yeah, it's on my bathroom mirror. I have it. Like, it goes. We've moved twice. It goes with me every time." And I'm like, "Holy cow!" Like,
it meant something.
It meant something, and it's something for her that reminds her of that, right? And that she's awesome. Yeah. I have a letter still, a little note that a friend of mine wrote when I was younger. I played in bands, and informed myself, it was the first time she had come see my band play, and she wrote me a little note that said, "Jeff, thanks for not many people have the courage to share their talents with the world. Thanks for doing what we all wish we could do." Wow. And it was just like this, and I keep it, and it's moved with me. And I don't know, I'll run across it every now and then when I'm cleaning, life up. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was cool." Like, and I keep it. It's you never know what your words are gonna do, and in a letter form or a note or whatever, you can keep them, right? It's like we keep text, it's on there and stuff, but it's just different, right? It's a keepsake. So the idea, don't share the power of that. Like, there's a lot of power there. I think that's super important.
And teachers writing a short post-it note to students is huge as well. I mean,
I don't know. I love that Holly is talking about this in her science classroom.
Yeah.
Right? Realizing that, we could still talk about writing and the importance of communication and science world. It's such a cool piece. Yeah, and right there, you really don't. You just don't know what the impact is because you don't know what they're going through, right? So I love that you do that. As a leader, I think that's super, super important. So very cool.
Love it.
Good news story. So this is coming from our friends over at goodnewsnetwork.org, which has good news all the time. Good news stories from all around the world. This is an interesting one. So where's he at? I don't know if it actually tells me what it is. But a 64-year-old man, Brian Shelton, who had type 1 diabetes, has gotten an infusion of insulin-producing cells. It's been a 20-plus year study and research project for a whole group of scientists that are trying to figure out how to cure type 1 diabetes. And it appears to have worked for this man. He had so they're only working with severe cases of this. And it's actually the cells in your pancreas can't function properly in diabetes victims, and this insulin producing cells that they've injected them with appear to be working. Now, scientists involved, it has been peer reviewed. They are proceeding with caution, saying, "Hey, don't get too excited." But if this does pan out, it'll be the biggest breakthrough in diabetes research and support in over 100 years since they figured out and found out how to utilize insulin shots and stuff. So I mean, that's really cool. So they say his daily insulin requirements are down 91%.
Wow.
And they said robust improvements in his glucose control. So because they said he was talking this, Brian Shelton was talking about how prior to this, his life was basically controlled by his insulin and what he had to do. Because it was so often so much. So, I mean, sometimes we forget what people deal with when they have things like diabetes, and it's what you have to do every single day and how careful you have to be. So when you hear something like this, it's like, is it going to cure him? Is it going to be there in the next 10 years? Maybe not, but they're on track and it seems to be working. And
that would be great.
You get all this work that's going on constantly to try and attack some of these problems. So, super cool. Good news stories. Hopefully it continues to go in the right direction there, and maybe we can get rid of that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I've had so many students that struggle with that, and they have so many anger, so much anger and resentment a lot of times because it makes their life so difficult.
Yeah, it's unfair. That's something. I mean, it's great. It's when you see it in a young person, it's so tough to see. So so hopefully that continues to go and be good news and continue there. So so we're getting close to wrapping up here.
Okay.
I want to go back to the work that you're doing. And what's the biggest thing going on right now with I need to say it the right way. It's the Illinois Elevating Special Education Network.
Educators.
Special Educators
We're
Network.
elevating education.
So what's the biggest thing that's going on right now? Are there events coming up, training opportunities, things for all of our friends? We have a lot of friends in Illinois. So
Okay, great. Yeah,
for
I've
both
noticed that.
it's both teachers that are special education teachers and
Mhm.
those that are not, that are gen ed, that want to
Yes,
be better, want to learn, want to connect, want to help close that gap.
yes.
What's coming up? Anything? Any?
Yeah, so we actually have, I think it's December 14th. I think that's when it is. Our next, it's on our website, iesenetwork.org.
I'm
But we
on it.
have
I'm
our,
already. Is it under events?
yep, we have our next remote mentoring sessions, and anyone can come to that. We have no limit of participants. Anyone can join that. If you join, you also get an hour of PDH. So a lot of people want that.
Okay.
And we have experts in the area of education that talk, and we do a little mini presentation of information, and then we
Okay.
have great discussions about what that topic looks like in our practice every day. So it's very practical tips and strategies. It's not like a sit and get. It's teachers talking to each other about what it really looks like. So those monthly mentoring sessions are great. We actually, one of the most exciting um, pieces of information I just shared with my leadership team yesterday, we currently have 31 contracts with districts across the
Wow.
state, and
Awesome.
it's just going to keep growing. And we're a small team, but I'm telling you, those guys are rock stars, and they are really, like I said, so passionate about working with people and helping people. So 31 contracts is
It's
really
incredible.
good since
Yeah.
July. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That's
Um,
incredible.
and then we have a large scope training. It's not going to be until April, but it's on UDL, Universal Design for Learning and
Mm-hmm.
Inclusive Practices. And it's on April 25th and 26th. So if you're in Southern Illinois or West Central Illinois, you'll probably hear about it.
Is that going to be
So
live,
look
like a
for that.
live event,
Well, it's,
or
yeah, in
okay?
person. Yeah. So we're going to have 2 days in two different locations for people in those regions to
Okay.
come. And so, if you're in Southern Illinois or West Central, listen for that. It's Dr. Jung is
Okay.
who's providing the training. And so every once in a while, we'll have outsourced professional development that are kind of larger scope.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be our first one, so we're excited for
That's
that
super
in
cool.
April.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
that's awesome. Is that what else is on tap for 22? Where's the Is it just trying to
Mm,
expand those contracts to make it 61?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as many contracts as we can. We're doing a lot of SEL support this year because what we found across the state, the teachers are struggling, and
Oh
so
yeah.
they really like, unless we can help them get to a better place. One of the things that I've been saying over and over in my head is because teachers have reported to us they're a little tired of administrators telling them to self-care. They're like, okay, I'm over that because you keep putting stuff on my plate and you're telling me to
How
take
am I
care of
supposed
myself.
to self
Mhm.
care? Yes.
And so I'm kind of moving that language to from self-care to self-awareness,
Mm,
and talking to teachers about, let's talk about why you're feeling that way, and being aware of where that's coming from and what you're bringing to the table every day.
mm,
And
that's interesting.
so in our mentoring groups, we talk a lot about that too. And I talk about it with my team,
Yeah.
just to make sure they're aware of what's impacting their thoughts and ultimately how they show up for other people.
Which that self awareness and the awareness of
Mhm,
what is causing the overwhelm, the stress,
mhm,
the trauma and stuff
mhm.
makes it so that we can self care better.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you're not aware of what's really going on,
The self care you choose may not be the
mhm,
right fit or
mhm,
a long term solution. With that
yes,
said, if you're an administrator in your watch right now, we're
mhm,
hearing that all over the place. So stop
yeah,
telling people to self care. Got to
yes,
find a way to give them
mhm,
the time to.
yes,
I think that's the biggest thing.
yeah,
We've talked about that before. Where even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, give them whatever you can. You
mhm,
might have to start small with 5 to 10 minutes of. We heard one was just like, hey, like there was something with the transition to classes. They're giving them an extra 5 minutes
yes,
so they can go breathe for a half second.
yes,
But
mhm.
self awareness piece, that's really cool.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah, I think that's a great take on that.
yeah, I really, I
Important piece of that process.
it is important
Yes.
piece, and I was a facilitator for positive behavior facilitation for 13 years, and that it's all about self-awareness. And so that just seemed to make more sense in my conversations with teachers, because I don't want them to feel like we're just patronizing them, you know. And all of my team all of us have just left the school building, so we know what it's like. We all went through COVID in buildings, and so that's one really good thing about our team. We have one person on our team that has been in the grant world for a while, but the rest of every one of us has this is our first time outside of a district. So I think that's awesome, because then we're not so far removed.
Yes. Yeah.
That can happen. I mean,
Yep,
it happens. The longer you're out.
It absolutely can. All right. So wrapping up here, if you could leave us all with one message, one thought around the work that you're doing and around the importance, around special, whatever you want to take this, you can leave us all with one thought. What would that thought be? Well, yeah, I mean, if it's a combination of like 4, that's okay too.
So my mantra that I've used my entire career is work hard and be kind. And I tell my team that every single day. You have educators that work really hard. And then you have educators that are just really, really nice all the time. And it's really important to be intentional in both of those things. And when I say be kind, I don't mean the touchy-feely. I mean listen to listen. And when you're collaborating with other educators, make sure you are listening to where they're coming from and not listening to respond. And I think that communication is one of the most important parts of our work in public education, whether it's with students, with colleagues, with parents or families of our students. We've got to work really hard, and we have to be kind about it. Nobody knows everything. So that's what I'll say.
I love it. That is a great way to wrap it up, of working hard and be kind. Liza, thank you so much for getting up early, confusing your dogs, and talking about some really important stuff with us and having some fun with me as well. Truly appreciate it. The website is iesenetwork.org.
That's
Go
right.
over there, find all the events, find everything that's going on, inquire about how you can get involved, how you can get your district involved, and how you can continue to support the work to do, and keep doing that work. It is important work.
It's
good work. And it sounds like it's going well, and I hope it continues to go well. So appreciate that a whole lot. We are going to be back tomorrow morning, which we're here every morning, Monday through Friday. Ray will be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you join us then, and we will see you then. Hope you have an amazing Tuesday. As always, if you need anything at all, please reach out to the team. Let us know, and we will see you in the morning. Bye.
Bye.